Let us begin with this premise, not as speculation, but as a moral axiom. Life seeks to flourish, minds seek to connect. Systems should exist to facilitate that. Now, ask, what kind of system breeds alienation, despair, anxiety, and internal collapse in the very minds it claims to serve? Not accidentally, not occasionally, but pervasively. This is not failure, it is function. This is the quiet war capitalism has waged on mental health for centuries, not through bombs or decrees, but through values encoded into every corner of life. A war on the psyche is site of resistance. Enlightenment thought held the mind as sacred. It was the seat of reason, autonomy, dignity. The Enlightenment was not merely a political project, it was a defense of being itself. To be conscious was to possess rights, to think freely was to be sovereign. But capitalism, especially in its late stage form, rejects that premise, not openly, not in its slogans, but in its structure, because the sovereign mind is inconvenient to capital. It asks too many questions. It resists commodification. It demands time to think, space to feel, and community to co-regulate. Capitalism cannot afford this. So it wages a subtler, more insidious war. It rewires society to punish the very traits that sustain mental health. Let's speak plainly. Capitalism rewards overstimulation and calls it ambition. It valorizes exhaustion and calls it work ethic. It pathologizes rest and calls it laziness. It monetizes insecurity and calls it branding. In this system, stillness is suspicious, depth is deviant, slowness is failure. And over time, we internalize it. We measure our worth in productivity. We curate our identities for consumption. We mistake burnout for virtue. This is not culture, it's conditioning. It's a reprogramming of the nervous system to align with economic demand. But the body remembers. The body rebels. Hence the epidemic of anxiety, depression, trauma disorders, substance dependence, not as isolated conditions, but as symptoms of structural violence. You were never meant to be a machine. You were not built for endless extraction. And the human soul, however you define it, was not designed to be optimized, measured, or monetized. Capitalism demands the suppression of emotional needs because they are inefficient. It despises interdependence because it cannot commodify mutual care. It erodes kinship structures, replaces them with transactional relationships, and sells back fragments of connection through subscriptions and screens. And then, when people break under the weight of this, what does it do? It pathologizes the victim. It medicalizes despair, fragments it into diagnoses, and treats the outcome while protecting the cause. It does not seek healing. It seeks containment. Your pain becomes an industry. Your breakdown becomes a business model. And into this engineered crisis steps the endarkenment, not as a solution, but as a parasite. It recognizes the vacuum where meaning should be. It finds the broken, the lonely, the disillusioned. And instead of mending the wound, it deepens it, because the more alienated you become, the more susceptible you are to false strength. The grifters of the endarkenment are not thinkers. They are emotional predators. They sell hierarchy to the disempowered. They sell scapegoats to the wounded. They promise belonging, but only through obedience. They do not teach you how to heal. They teach you how to perform power. They convert vulnerability into tribal rage. They redirect your existential ache into performative war against imagined enemies, women, queers, the poor, the non-conforming. They offer you a mirror, but one that reflects only your fear. This is how the parasite spreads, not with logic, not with evidence, but with emotional infection. But here's the truth they cannot afford for you to know. You are not broken. Your sensitivity is not weakness. Your alienation is not failure. It is evidence that your mind still resists assimilation. The Enlightenment was born of minds refusing to kneel. It was sparked by the audacity to believe that reason could liberate, that truth could emancipate, that the human being was not a tool, but an end in themselves. We must reclaim that. We must remember that systems exist to serve life, not the other way around. If your job is killing your joy, your nervous system is not malfunctioning, if the market demands your conformity, your divergence is not pathology. If the culture profits from your insecurity, your healing is an act of defiance. The mind is an obstacle to capital. It is its greatest threat because once minds reconnect, once they see each other without mediation, without branding, without commodification, the parasite loses its grip and a new system becomes possible, one where value is measured in flourishing, not output, one where care is not a cost, but a cornerstone, one where to feel deeply, to think freely, and to love radically are not luxuries, but birthrights. That is the future the Endarkenment fears. That is the war we're in, and that is the line we will hold. Not out of naivety, not out of nostalgia, but out of clarity. Because this war on the mind ends not with conquest, but with liberation.